This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store. Always good to be joined with Dave Coldwell. It's been a while, mate. It's been a while since we last spoke, but yeah, you've been on holiday. Things been happening. How's things, mate? How are you?
Yeah, I had a nice weekend. It was a good weekend. Finished training the lads on the Friday morning. Little boy played on the Friday night. Flew to Ibiza Saturday morning, straight onto Ocean Beach. Um, Swedish House Mafia on the Sunday, and watched my daughter DJ out there on the Monday. So yeah, it was a really good weekend. Not much sleep. Back in the gym Tuesday afternoon. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Really
Does
good.
it? I get yeah. You never lose it, mate. You never lose it, no matter how old you get. You never lose it, mate. But but
No,
yeah.
my kids keep me young. So yeah, it was all good. Didn't need to catch up on sleep. I'm all right.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Good to hear. But yeah, I guess we'll jump straight into it. Big news that came yesterday. I sort of opened up my Instagram, and first photo I saw was yourself with Lerrone Richards. They're back, obviously. I guess training him again now. From previously training him a couple of years ago. Yeah, so I guess that's the
Yeah.
first thing we'll get into. Yeah, back with Lerrone Richards. I guess how did that come about? How does it feel?
Um, I got asked would I work with him again, and we had a good chat, a long chat, and yeah, we've remained friends ever since. We're part of company. I think a lot about him. Me lads in the gym, they love their own to bits. They still see him at the S&C with Danny Wilson. The crossover all the time. Always have a catch up. Always, he's a lovely, lovely kid. He always has been, always will be. So, even my kids, when I told my family that that we spoke, they were buzzing. They were like, "You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. You've got to do it." They really like their own. So yeah, they're happy. Everybody's happy. So yeah, let's see what we can do. I feel like it is unfinished business because he you know he, we won the European title against the Carolis, outstanding performance. We won the IBO World title, which is was a fantastic win over Gongora. And then that was it.
Yeah.
I feel as though there's still still work to be done there. He was I've always said talent, talent and skill for skill. In any era that I've been in the game, the people I've worked with, from down to being in the gyms, watching all the fighters down at Brennan Ingalls when I was a kid, to fighters that I've worked with, fighters that I've seen at Haymaker and I've worked with at Haymaker, and him skill for skill, boxing ability wise, he fits into any of them. He's right up there as the most skillful fighter with the highest ability that I've ever worked with. And I said that when he'd left, when we weren't working together. So I'm not just saying it all now because he's come back. Yeah, so he's got a lot of work to do to get back to where he was as such, because obviously it was a defeat last time out, and now he's part of the Who Needs Me club. But I need him to be active this time round. I need to be active, and then straight in the big fights, and let's see where he can go.
Absolutely. I was going to say, like, what is the plan with Lerone now? Because as you say, you won the European with him, won the IBO, and then in no disrespect to Grant Smith, it was quite a loss 2 years after 2 years, obviously suffering a stoppage defeat about a couple of months ago to Steve Woodall. And I think people had always sort of been critical of Lerone that he needed to be more active, he needed to be fighting more. And it was obvious sort of the clear things that happened with his departure on Matchroom and what happened with the Chelly fight. So what is the plan now to, I guess, get the confidence back and get him back on in the conversations?
I don't think there's anything in terms of confidence wise. This, it's nothing to me, but you know, I never felt as though he had any business going back down to super middleweight. The when he was supposed to box Chele, and he passed out in the change room, not change room, he passed out in the hotel room. And that was like, you cannot, you shouldn't box that way. And then obviously I think he's had 2 fights after he left me, 2 low-key fights where he was over light heavyweight limit, I think it was. So he spent a couple of years over that weight, and for him to then to think a couple of years later, and a couple of years walking around heavier, to then to try and go back down to weight where alarm bells were there last time out, then I thought it was the wrong move anyway. And he got caught. He got caught. Simple as that. It doesn't all of a sudden make me think, oh, look, I've seen Lerrone hit on the butt, and with no disrespect to the guy, much bigger punches, and never had any sort of effect. Yeah, so and he's already been back. We've done some work. He's been back now for a couple of weeks, and he's had punches coming back his way. There's no psychological effects. He's one thing about Lerrone is he's mentally very strong. Nothing seems to phase him, and I don't think that's phased him at all either. So he just needs to get a few things back, become that fighter that I used to watch and think, wow, this kid is special. And we need fights. We need fights.
Yeah.
That's what he needs.
Definitely, for sure. And I guess it's an exciting time to see the future of Lerrone. And
I do generally think that maybe now that he'll get the fights, because
I was going to say
trimmed.
that. Do you think that? Do you think that there's actually? Yeah. It's a bad thing, but it could work in a positive way.
Yeah, I hope so, because he's the light heavyweight mix is a great mix. And there's some fighters around there that obviously are aiming at world level. There's fighters that are wanting to break into world level, and while they're waiting around, Lerrone Richards is there. So I'd like him to get out sharpish, and then the any of the guys that domestically at light heavyweight, then let's get the fights on. People like to see domestic dust ups. There's plenty of them out there. So Lerrone will take any of them.
Definitely. Did you want to quickly move on, I guess, from big news for yourself, big news in the world of boxing? And we did see the October 12th undercard announced. I think it slightly had mixed reviews, a lot of sort of positive ones, a lot of negative ones.
We're getting spoiled.
I'll get into that in a minute, but I guess from your point of view, like, what do you make of this undercard?
Seeing a hell of a lot worse. I think we'll get, when we're given great things and everything's exciting, all these cards, it's not actually sustainable if you want them regular to keep churning out cards that are going to be stacked all the way through. Not really. It's not really sustainable to keep having 50-50s on each card of a great, a big magnitude. So I still look at it, and I look at Fraser Clark and Fabio Wardley. That's a bill topper in itself. Great fight. Shakur Stevenson's going to be on the bill. He's an elite level fighter. Joe Cordina was world champion until his last fight. When he gets caught after the bell, or on the break,
on the break, yeah.
On the break, gets caught, and he never recovers from that. Right before that, he was in control of the fight. I'm not saying he would have won the fight. I'm not saying Kakashi wouldn't have done what he's done. Kakashi's a great fighter himself, but you can't then now all of a sudden say Joe Cordina's shit. So it's a good fight. It is a good fight. But again, it's one of those where the elite level in Shakur is fighting a proven, a proven world champion. He was a proven world champion. He just lost his world title. We knew he was struggling at 130 anyway. There was a lot of talk. It's not like he's got beat, so he's blaming weight. There was a lot of talk before, whether people on the wider scopes know about it or not. But we all knew that Joe was looking for a way out to get in in at 135. You know, he as time goes on, you outgrow a weight, and so it's not like he's stepping up a weight and he's going to be the much smaller man because he's artificially moving up a weight. He is a 135er now. I think he was a 135er trying to squeeze into 130-pound body. I don't mind the fight. It's a good listen. It's not going to. I don't think it's going to be a barn burner and anything exciting, but it's going to be a good, high quality fight because Cordina's a good boxer. Shakur Stevenson's an elite boxer. It's going to be a really good technical fight. You've got Rihanna Dixon and
Terry Harper.
Was it Terry?
Oh no,
is it?
That's I was Sky Nicholson and Raven Chapman is what. Yeah,
that's it. Raven Chapman.
Sorry, I was going to say.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, that's right.
Raven Chapman and Sky Nicholson. That's a good fight because everyone's raving about Raven, and Sky Nicholson's a very good technical boxer. So, and is that maybe it's not elite because Raven's not proven, but she's the one that everyone's expecting to become world champion. So as a world title defense, that's a good fight. That's a really good fight. Who else is on there? Ben Whitaker's on.
Yeah, he's fighting Liam Cameron.
Ben Whitaker against Liam Cameron. How can you not like that fight? Liam's just put in a great performance there. He's going to give it everything. Ben Whitaker has been getting away with showboating and things like that against guys that either shorter, looking at swinging shots over the top where he can just ride and slip. Liam Cameron's it was a good amateur. His fundamentals are very, very good. He's tall himself. He's big. He's strong, and he's going to give it everything. And if Ben's not on his game, he's going to get hit more than he's been hit before. And then we're going to see what kind of whether he can keep up the show and everything when things aren't quite going his own way. So I don't mind that fight either. Are the all elite level fights? No, they're not. But it's still a good show. It is a good show. I mean, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Like I said, I think we're spoiled a little bit because the cards have been like top draw. Yeah. But it's still a good card. It's still got good fights on there,
Yeah, I was going to say that. Do you think that because like the bar has been set when we see cards like Fury Usyk, or we saw the Day of Reckoning card, for example, like that's what everyone expects? So do you think it's like if we had this card 18 months ago, the reaction to it would be a lot different? So I just think it is a case of like people, the bar is a bit too high for some people.
Yeah, I do. But like I said, if this Riyadh season, the Riyadh season shows were like say maybe 5 shows a year, then I think every one of them would be stacked all the way through.
Yeah.
But it looks like they're gunning for a lot more regular than that because look at since they first started, look at how quick they're churning them out.
Yeah.
You've got September 21st, and then you've got October. Is it 12th? October 12th.
12th, yeah.
And then you've got October 12th already. So they're churning them out quickly. So they're not all going to be every fight is a 50-50. Do I think what other fights are on the card? Because there's jeopardy.
The one I think if
in Sky Nicholson fight, there's for all Sky's technical ability. If Raven Chapman's as good as what they say, I'll be honest with you. I think I've seen her once early on in her career, but they're talking about her as though she's like a beast and very, very good. Yeah. So there's jeopardy in that fight. You might say Sky's the favorite, but she's probably a lot of people go with favorites because they've got a higher profile and because I've seen her more often. So, but there's jeopardy in that fight. Fabio and Fraser Clark. Look at what fight that was last time round. This is going to be another great fight. Are you guaranteed a winner in that one? No, you're not. So that one's got jeopardy either way. Yeah, I mean, what else is on the bill?
I think the main criticisms, the main fights that people have been critical of, I think would be Jaya Patar against Jack Massey and Eubank Jr. against Strez Mesa. Those are the two which I think people. And do you think that there's right to be critical of that?
Understandable. Yeah. Understandable. But Jaya had a pretty hard fight his last time out against Bradis. in control for a lot of it. Came out pretty busted up. Hard fight, good fight. Wasn't too long ago, really. He's been active. You know, what is it? It's his third fight in you know in a year, is it? Third, maybe fourth fight coming up in a year.
Full fight
So
in, yeah, full fight in.
fourth fight in a year. So
Yeah.
that's good going for a world champion these days.
Yeah.
So he's being active again. Maybe he's allowed a bit of a gimme, and it's not a gimme in the fact that Jack Massey he put up a good performance against Parker, which now dates really well. And Massey's opportunity. I think in the Brady's fight, obviously you talk about levels. Marius Brady's as a top level fighter, but at 38 or whatever he was, it's his last fight. He's retired now. He showed that Opetaya is not the finished article. So Massey and I think I'm right. He's Joe Gallagher's his coach. So
Yeah.
they'll look at that and they'll go into the fight with confidence that he can upset the apple cart. It's not like pre-Brady's where they're looking at him thinking he's this beast and he's unbeatable. They're looking at that and saying, well, do you know what? Maybe. Obviously, there's levels, and Jack's got a cross levels that he's never been anywhere near, really. Because Opetaya, I think he's elite. I do think he's elite. Like I said, Brady's was, although it was at the end of his career, he's a very, very good fighter. But Massey's going to give it everything. It's going to be while it lasts, it's going to be a good fight.
But
when you talk about Eubank,
mm-hmm.
Mate, apart from a couple of fights in his career, it's kind of always been the same with Eubank. It's always been, but it's been the main event, and you've had fights like that, and you've still watched the show. This is an undercard fight. Let's not get away from the fights. The main event of this show, what is it? It's one of the most highly anticipated fights that there's been for years and years and years. Bivol against Beterbiev, the two joint number ones in the division. We're going to find out which one is the number one. And that's what this show's about. And the undercard, we've seen it so many times in the past where you have a main fight, nobody's interested in any of the fights. This undercard has got a few fights on there where you don't want to miss. And they're going to be great fights. And then it's got other fights on there where they're all right. And then you've got, Eubank against an unknown. You've got Opetaya, who should be a big favorite against the domestic, but because it's got the domestic interest, you're going to watch the fight because you're going to be like, "Go on, Jack, let's see what you got."
Yeah, definitely. I completely understand. And another thing I also did want to get your opinion on regarding the topic of Saudi Arabia in boxing. We did see, I guess, a pretty public, I guess you could say, feud between Canelo Alvarez and Turki Alalshikh, and that also is sort of coincided at the same time with Turki and Tim Tszyu actually, using his an example of them having a bit of a sort of a public feud where Turki sort of said that I'm not going to work with Tim Tszyu, and him sort of being a bit with Turki being a bit frosty with Canelo. Do you think that there's a worry for certain boxers that if you almost don't comply that you get frozen out?
You don't know when you're in negotiations or if there's conversations about fights between A and B, unless you know how those conversations have gone, you kind of don't. It's hard to read into it. I'm hearing back that I think I saw something where Eddie said that it just seems to be I think it's a misunderstanding because Canelo just wants to focus on Berlanga, doesn't want to talk about the anything beyond. You can kind of understand that, but Turkey's just at the end of the day, he's kind of like there's a lot of fans out there on Twitter, right? And they want to see this fight, that fight, anything else, fucking not interested in. They're like, it's shit, it's bullshit. This, they said. Turkey's kind of like one of us. He's just a fan where he doesn't care about the permutations and what comes there. What he wants the fights to be happening now, and he's got this money that he's saying, listen, I'm willing to pay you this. Why don't you want to take the fight? Because he just wants to make the fight now. So he's like us in the fact that he's a fan, but he's not like us in the fact that he's got this amount of money where he can make 90% of the fights happen. But you're not going to make every fight happen. That's the thing about boxing, because sometimes it's timing. Sometimes it might just be because the fight is not quite ready, or the fight is, do you know what? Yeah, I understand it's a lot of money, but I want a wait, for the fight after. Or it could be that Canelo just doesn't want the fights. You don't know. I don't know what Canelo's ego is saying these days. You got to remember, Canelo's got a lot of money. So if the one thing that can persuade 90%, 99% of the fighters to take a fight where maybe they don't really want it now, but they think, do you know what? Go on then. Okay. If the one thing is money, with Canelo's got hundreds of millions. So what does it matter if you're willing to pay him another shitloads of millions? Because he's like, I don't need it. And maybe he's got that arrogance where he just says, where he is saying, I don't need you. I don't need you to change anything about my boxing. You might be changing what's happening, going on in boxing. But as far as me, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm going to do. You're not going to change. And if he's come up with that, and if it's come across in a not so respectful way, then Turki Alalshikh's well within his rights to be pissed off. Because he will feel it as though in himself that he's been disrespectful to him if he's put it across in a disrespectful way. But don't forget, there could be a bit of a language barrier. Because English isn't Canelo's first language. English isn't Turkey's first language, so you don't know if that's caused a little bit of a bit of friction. It's like sometimes you can get a text message off somebody and think they mean it in a certain way, and it's not. And people get faced on over text message, but it's very it's hard to read what context it is in unless you're part of the negotiations and you was there. You don't know, so it's difficult to say. I hope not, because we don't need feuds in boxing, but ultimately it's only the same as if you're with a promoter and the promoter wants you to take a fight and you're saying, no, it's not worth it. I want more. I want more. There's a certain budget that the promoter's going to go to where he thinks you're worth it. If he doesn't think you're worth any more than that, he won't pay that. And it doesn't matter what you think your value is. If the guy that's paying the money doesn't want to pay any more than what he values you at, the fight's not going to happen. You're not going to get it. And it might just be that. When you have Canelo turning around and talking about being quoted and talking about, I think he wants something like 200 million to fight Benavidez, that tells you where he's at. So that basically tells you that either I'm going to screw the Saudis for everything that they've got, and well, not everything they got, but I'm going to screw them for as much as I can get and make them pay way over the odds, or I don't want the fight. So there's probably a lot more to it than what we see.
Yeah, definitely. Just before I do let you go, Dave, I know we spoke about Lerrone a little bit earlier, but any more updates with the stable? Obviously, Hopi, Ellis, Stephen Cairns with a good stoppage victory a few months ago. So what is the latest?
Yeah, Stephen was supposed to box in October, but he's just been offered an opportunity to jump on the September 6th show, I think at your call. So he's going to jump on that now. We got word of that about a few days ago. Had some great experience for him, and Ellis jumped in for the last couple of rounds as well. We had Mark Chamberlain up at the gym today. So Steve got 8 great rounds with Mark there. Such good experience. So yeah, part of his development, Ellis's development, it's things like that are they're priceless. They came all the way from Portsmouth. Such a trek that is. So really appreciate those guys coming up to give us some really quality work. So yeah, Stephen will be boxing on September 6th. Just waiting on confirmation of a date for Dan Howard with Wasserman.
Okay.
And I'm waiting on Ellis Price, see what we're going with him. So fingers crossed, get something worked out for him. I'll tell you what, Ellis Price, mate, he's just he's gonna be the real deal. He's absolutely fantastic. What a talent. He's doesn't matter who he's sparring with, the levels that he's going up with in sparring sessions. The kid's very, very good. I'm excited for him once he gets his first few fights out of the way and he starts going up through the levels. I'm really excited about his capabilities.
Definitely. Well, from how much you've gone about him, it makes me excited too, Dave. But as always, mate, do appreciate you taking time to speak to me. It's been a while, so it's always good to catch up with you, mate. And I really do appreciate it, mate. So hopefully it won't be too long until we're catching up again. Top man. Thank you.
Nice one, mate. Catch you again.